I've distilled it down to this in terms of the physical training component, primitive. So the primitive cause or the primitive instinct as a human, we can look at fight, flight, the fight and flight response. So my system, my training, my way of doing is based on the fundamental question of, does it make me a better fight or does it make me a better flight? So is this exercise or is this system or is this method going to inform my locomotion, a better mover, which makes me more capable to flight? Because the flight is, oh man, I got to get out of here. There's danger, so let's move. That's the flight. The more competent we are at being able to transport our body through space, so that's a whole approach of training, is being better at moving. The fight is, the way I define it, is there's no other option, right? You've cornered me. Now my back is against the wall. I'm a peaceful guy. I don't want to fight, but now I have to fight, right? Or alternatively, this person, you're going to eat me, right? Yeah. You're either going to eat me or I have to fight you off. So, and again, that's the martial art. So the fight and the flight informs all the training. And so when I talk about utility, does it make me better at one or the other or both? If not, well, let's discard what is not useful. I don't really need that. It's not, if I'm just getting a bigger chest and I can press more weight laying down, but I can't really use it in any of the important values for me, it doesn't fit into my program, because we're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. You know, there's only so much time in the day and we can't do everything. So, you know, exercise selection, it's informed now. It's serving a purpose. And the answer for me can be different than the answer for a lot of other people, because our values can be different and what's important. But for me, the fight and the flight is really the test, the acid test for the utility. You know, and that changes at different stages of life as well. It's not a rigid, it's also a dynamic.
Absolutely. I think what I notice most in the stuff that you do is the mobility side of it. And we spoke to Phil McDougall. I don't know if you know Phil, but he said he watches guys like you. And he named a few others, and I can't actually remember who he named on the podcast, but we had him on last year, and he said basically you move your joints through full range of motion every day. So he does that, and because he knows it works, because he was in the Marines and he's been pretty jacked up, so he's like, he knows what it's like to be on the opposite side of that. So what would you say to listeners? You know, because like we say, our listeners are in their like late 30s, early 40s and beyond into the 70s. Is how important is that? Because you're saying, you know, you've got your flight response is to get up and move. But if you get up and move and then your leg like seizes up or something, you can't go anywhere, can you? So you need to be able to move well and move through ranges of motion. So what's your kind of approach to that? Like a daily...
The sustainability. So we look at the sustainability, and we can call that longevity. It's through the lifespan, right? So cradle to the grave, and the processes and the stages of development. Now, I happen to believe that education is, I'm always open to the possibility that everything I've learned or everything that I thought that I knew could be wrong, or could be misinformed, or only partially informed. So, and I would go so far as to say that a lot of the things that we collectively are taught in our education, brought up, is, you know, the skeptic would say it's wrong and there's a lot of lies. The optimist can say, well, we didn't know better, but now we know more. And we've come to find that we were missing some information. Now we have more information. So where I'm getting at is the idea that we have to go through life in pain is a misinformed idea.
Yeah.
Okay. the child now becomes the model for the old man and not the other way around.
Yep.
We start out perfect. We start out free, and somehow through the lifespan, we take on trauma, we take on stress, we take on the pain. And depending on how that's all managed, we can be broken down and in pain, and, you know, at a very young age. And it's happening in society younger and younger.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there's no easy answer, but one thing we know for sure is we got to move. We got to keep moving. Why? Is because we are hominids. We are bipedal hominids, and we've been roaming the earth for, conservatively, we can say pretty confidently, at least 200,000 years. We, as in the humans, because of carbon dating techniques that they're finding, the records, you know, it goes back a lot longer than we thought. And we've been able to identify at least 14 different hominid, you know, from the early through the Cro-Magnon and the, you know, and the what is the Neanderthals, right? We had wars with them. We had to kill them off because they were trying to kill us. And, you know, now here we are, the Homo sapiens sapien, and we're still moving. If you stop moving, well, now we're going to have a lot of problems, because how do you take a dynamic and tell it not to move? So that's the biggest thing, is the industrialization of humanity has caused all these diseases. And we are,
Yeah,
you know, I'm a little skeptical in some things as far as who's controlling the information and who's overseeing the information that gets out to trickle down, you know, the young kids or the public education. And that I'm very skeptical, because I think it's filled with a lot of misinformation, and I think it's filled with a lot of lies. And when we're talking about the physical education, one of those lies is that the modern man is bigger and stronger and faster and better than the prehistoric man. And actually the opposite is true. Our
yeah,
grandparents and grandparents were by and large stronger and more vital. And, you know, but we've been sold this thing because the industrialization, you know, and again, I have to stay in my lane. I'm not a politician, so I can't, you know, we can start pointing fingers and saying, oh, this person, and okay, every 4 years, let's change the face, right? The political cycle. And we're participating in this misinformation thing. And physical education is really pure, because at the end of the day, we're about the body. It's the embodiment. And, you know, there's the mind, body, and that invisible, the mind, body, spirit, or what I say, the mind, body, and breath, because now we give some tangibility to it, take it out of the, you know, etheric. We talk about the mind, body, and the breath. We have an idea of exactly what those things are. And I'm saying that we can unify those through things, through the physical education.